What up, guys? Welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking about my bag, what I've been throwing, what I was throwing in Europe, and what gave me so much confidence at the Yarva Open and allowed me to take that one down. I'm going to start with my putting putters. These are base grip P Model S's. Each of them has the KJ stamp on them, and I can't tell the difference between them. It's one of the best things about it. I've got three that are the exact same wear that I've been using since Vegas, and I just grab one, grab two, and head to my putt, not thinking about the difference between them. I've also got one of these for throwing. It's the same grip as my putting putter. This one's a little bit beat up, holds a good line, will turn over if I wanted to, but the thing I like is just the same grip, same putter, and this one I keep separate because it hits trees and it gets a little wonky. I've got two other throwing putters in my bag, both of them A5s, this one 500 Spectrum. It's my signature disc for this year. This one is a 750. It's a little stiffer, but they've got almost the exact same flight. I trusted this one on hole 2, second round at the Yarva Open with a little bit of anhyzer. Comes back, hits the hill, gets an unfortunate roll, but as you can see, it stops, allows me to grab that birdie putt. I can trust these things in the wind. I can trust them with the forehand. A5 is a fantastic disc, and I'm super stoked to have my name on it. This one here is available at the Team Prodigy shop. Just search for Luke Humphries. My favorite approach disc that I've ever used is the A3, and I carry two of these things, both in 750 plastic. This one right here is my baby. I've been using it since the beginning of my Prodigy time. It's the oldest disc I have in my bag, actually. This one here I used at Waco, first tournament with Prodigy, to throw in final round and actually cash on 18. So this one's been special since the beginning. And this one here is the exact backup. It's a little more stable. It's also a 750 plastic, and it's got aces on it already. So it's in the minor leagues, just waiting to be called up. When it's time, I know it's gonna do its thing. Both of these are super flat, super torque resistant. If you don't have an A3 or have tried an A3, you should definitely check them out. Fantastic approach disc from Prodigy. Moving on to my mid-ranges. There's not a ton of mid-range shots on tour anymore. We play 400-foot par 3s, not the 330-foot par 3s that we used to. So I don't use these all the time, but I definitely keep a Proto M2 on me for good reason. This is one of the best mid-ranges ever made. Great plastic, great stability. I can trust this thing in the wind, on hyzers, on anhyzers. It's just a very neutral flying mid-range. Fantastic disc. The next one I'm super excited to start using more. This is the new Isaac Robinson Archive. It's a 500 plastic version, and this disc is going to be a money disc in my bag. I can't wait to get this thing in proper rotation. It's pretty new, but when it comes out, I know you guys are gonna love it as well. It's a fast, stable version of the M3 that we've just started making, and like I said, I can't wait to have this one flying all the time. The last mid-range that I carry is my MX1, and this is one of my favorite discs in my bag. I consider it like a shorter FX2. For non-Prodigy throwers, it's pretty similar to a Justice with a little more speed and I think a little better grip in the hand. I can use it forehand flex shots, backhand hyzers, flex shots. It's just a great utility mid-range to have. I'd recommend everybody get an MX1. Next up for the fairways is this quick flip F7. If you don't have an F7, you're missing out on some easy fun. I use this thing all the time at Northwoods last weekend, throwing quick flip rollers in the woods. It's not going to travel too far, but it's going to do everything you need to do in a very tight area. That's what's great about the F7. That's a 500 plastic one there. Next up, the FX4. I don't throw this thing a ton, but this is my hyzer flip fairway driver, and these things go so far. When I'm out in the field, I find myself picking it up very near where my distance drivers are going. I know a bunch of Prodigy pros throw this thing way better than I do. Those guys like their backhands. I like forehands. I'm not trying to throw too many understable discs. Don't try to do that hyzer flip goodness. But if I do, I'm going with the FX4. My next fairway is one of my favorite discs I've ever thrown. This is the new Feedback from Prodigy. This is Kev's signature disc. This is an overstable to straight fairway driver with a ton of glide, but also stability. It's got a slim feel to it, so it comes out of the hand perfect. And I love the little baby Anheuser line. If you guys have been watching me for a while, you know that's my bread and butter. That's my comfort zone, is to throw it on a little Annie, let it travel and flex out. It's what I did with the KJ Nibo T-Bird for you non-Prodigy throwers. This is almost a perfect replacement for that. Great fairway driver, feedback, throwing it every round, trusting it in the wind. But if it gets too windy, then I gotta step up to this FX2. This is a quad stamped one that I got from my first trip to the Prodigy factory. One of the prettiest discs in my bag, and also one of the most useful. This thing does not mess around. Headwind, doesn't matter. Anheuser flex shots, all happening from the 300 to 400 foot range. At Yarva, I really trusted this thing on some stall hyzer shots that gave me some crucial birdies in my second and third rounds. As you can see right here, I had to go up and around these trees, watching out for OB right and OB long, and get this thing to come all the way back, and it did it perfectly. The FX2 is a staple in my bag, as it is in all touring professional Prodigy players' bags, and for good reason. Next up, headed to my distance drivers. First up is my least stable but furthest flying. This thing is a fantastic disc. I got it from Matt Oram, and it's the same run that Kale used to walk off ace a couple years ago and win an A tier. I don't use it for any wind situations. This thing is pretty beat, but works great for flip up forehands. As you can see here on hole 11 at Yarva's second round, I totally wipe out, but the disc comes out clean, gets that full ride, skips up by the green, nearly rolls away, but stays tight, and gives me a birdie on a 450 foot forehand hole. This is such a good disc in my bag, and I trust it for those long shots. Next up is a disc I'm throwing every single round that I play. This is a 400 D3 with my Luke Humphries signature on it. This thing has a perfect dome to it. I've had it since Vegas. It's flying the exact same. I trust it on these Anheisers, and it always comes back out. Doesn't mess with the wind too much, which is perfect. The D3 has really become one of my favorite drivers here at Prodigy. Let's go to hole 13 at Yarva. This is a out of bounds everywhere, dog leg to the right. I trust this disc on Anheuser over the OB, using the cameraman as my target, landing right next to him, setting myself up for a forehand. Speaking of that forehand, because I threw that disc and I don't like using minis, this one right here is almost the exact replica. It's a 500 plastic D3 with my Rare Earth Research Division stamp, which you can get at teamprodigy.com. This thing is very similar to my 400 D3, and as you can see here on the same hole, same round, I'm trusting it on a pure hyzer forehand, coming into that green perfectly at about a 330 foot range, staying right there close to the pin. Really like this disc, and I'll use it almost interchangeably with that 400 pink D3. Next up is the last D3 in my bag. It's also one of those Rare Earth Research Division, but this one's got a domier profile, and it's a little more stable. So I use this one in windier conditions. Doesn't get thrown as much as the two I just mentioned, but if I ever need to step up in stability, this one's perfect for it. This one right here happens to be the prettiest disc in my bag. This is also a Luke Humphries signature D3. This one's in the 500 plastic, and it's also been dyed up by the man himself, Mr. Daddy Mac. This one is a little glidey right out of the box. These white D3s tended to have a little straighter flight to them. So I don't use this one a ton yet, working it into the bag now, but it's gonna be a super bomber once it's been used. This next disc I'm super excited to have in my bag. This is the OTB Tour Series Skins 400 D2 that I trust in every windy condition. Gannon Burr, Kevin Jones, Isaac Robinson, all throwing this exact run of D2 for windy shots or just shots when you need a very stable disc. I don't throw as hard as those guys, so it's a very stable disc for me. It's perfect for my arm speed, doesn't mess around in the wind, gives me a good skip, very trustworthy disc. If I need a step up from it, I'll go to this X Out D1 400S. This thing is just a plate. You could see that profile. It's just a beef dog. So I keep her just in case things get a little crazy. You know, tornado weather in Kansas or Iowa or wherever we may be, you kind of need a disc like that. As far as what's on my bag and not discs, I've got a few different things that I keep on. My good boy patches, gotta have Hogan there with me. I think that some gum in my bag is like a 2-stroke difference for me. So I always keep some gum, keep my mouth moving. It allows my brain to think better. And then for my snack, I am constantly eating some of that Big Country beef jerky. My signature flavor, Buffalo Ranch, is my favorite beef jerky I've ever had. You guys can check it out at bcbeefjerky.com. Use the code Luke5 to get a little discount off that, but this stuff is amazing. And if you're not into the spicy, they've got a bunch of other stuff too. A Parmesan garlic that is, whew, so good. No preservatives, no sugar. This is good jerky. Keeps me going for those back nines. Got to get those birdies on the back nine. Nice mini with the good boy on it. Couple patches, couple things. I like to keep some rocks on me. And then I also, in Stockholm, got this. Let me see if I can get it. Oh, this is, I think it's a brass Viking coin from like 300 years ago. Had to get this thing when I saw it at a little shop. I'm not super into tokens and all that lucky stuff, but this was in my bag when I won Yarva. So it's staying there for good. All right, so that does it for what's in my bag and on my bag. Big thanks to MDG Media for letting us use that coverage. Big thanks to GK Pro for helping me with this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll probably see you out there at a skins match.